The sun dipped low in the sky as Sarah Mitchell pulled into the driveway of her suburban home, a wave of excitement washing over her. She had planned a special evening for Tom, filled with his favorite dishes and the warmth of their shared laughter. The scent of rosemary and garlic lingered in her thoughts as she envisioned the meal simmering on the stove. However, as she parked her car, her gaze fell upon an unfamiliar vehicle nestled next to hers. A sleek, silver sedan, its shine a stark contrast to the well-worn charm of their own car. For a moment, unease crept into her mind, but she quickly dismissed the thought. Perhaps it belonged to a neighbor visiting? After all, their street was friendly, and she had seen several of them come and go throughout the evening. With a determined smile, Sarah stepped inside their home, her heart light with anticipation. "Tom, I'm home," she called out, her voice echoing softly against the walls. The usual warmth of the house enveloped her, but there was an odd silence that replaced the familiar sounds of Tom's evening routine. She shrugged off the feeling, heading to the kitchen where the aroma of her cooking would soon fill the air. But as she reached for the frying pan, a burst of laughter floated through the hallway, originating from their bedroom. Sarah's heart skipped a beat, her stomach twisting in a way she couldn't quite place. The sound was one she recognized too well. Tom's laughter, rich and vibrant, mingling with another voice that was distinctly feminine. Confusion and dread twisted in her gut as she moved toward the bedroom, each step measured and heavy. Pushing the door open, Sarah's world shattered in an instant. There, entwined on their bed, was Tom with another woman, Claire, a colleague from his office, her laughter ringing out in a way that twisted the knife deeper into Sarah's heart. Time seemed to stretch indefinitely as Sarah stood frozen, taking in the betrayal laid bare before her. Tom's eyes widened in shock, his expression shifting from amusement to horror as he registered Sarah's presence. "Sarah, He stumbled over his words, but they fell flat against the weight of the moment. The laughter that had filled the room was replaced by a heavy silence, punctuated only by Sarah's sharp intake of breath. "Is this what you call a surprise?" she managed to choke out, her voice trembling with a mixture of hurt and disbelief. The scene before her felt surreal, as if she had stepped into someone else's nightmare. "It's not what it looks like," Tom pleaded, his hands raised as if to protect himself from the storm of emotions brewing in Sarah. "I swear it was a mistake. Just a moment of weakness." "A moment of weakness?" The incredulity in Sarah's voice pierced through the air. "You think that makes it okay? You think I can just pretend this didn't happen?" Tom rose from the bed, fumbling to cover himself with a hastily grabbed shirt, his eyes darting between Sarah and Claire, who remained silent, a guilty expression painted across her face. "Sarah, please. I love you. This was a one-time thing. I promise it didn't mean anything." But Sarah felt as though the ground beneath her was crumbling away. "Love." The word echoed in her mind, now tainted by the image of betrayal. "You love me," she spat, her heart pounding as the tears threatened to spill. "How can you say that after this?" The silence that followed felt suffocating. Tom stepped closer, reaching out as if to pull her into an embrace, but Sarah recoiled, shaking her head. "Don't touch me. I can't even look at you right now." With a burst of anger and sorrow, she turned on her heel, storming out of the room and into the living area, her breath coming in short gasps. Each step felt heavy, as if the weight of her shattered trust pressed down upon her. Tom's voice called after her, desperate and pleading. "Sarah, wait. I'm sorry. Please, let's talk about this." But the door slammed shut behind her, a finality to the chaos that had just unfolded. Outside, the cool evening air wrapped around her like a balm, but it did little to soothe the tumult within. She stood on the porch, her heart racing, feeling lost and adrift in a sea of confusion and pain. The world continued to move around her, but she felt frozen in time, caught between the love she had for Tom and the devastating reality of his betrayal. As she gazed at the darkening sky, Sarah knew she was at a crossroads, and the choices ahead were as daunting as they were unclear. Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, the soft fabric of the quilt beneath her feeling like a heavy burden. Her phone buzzed repeatedly beside her, but she remained unmoved, lost in her swirling thoughts. The betrayal had torn through her like a bolt of lightning, and now every decision felt monumental. With a deep breath, she picked up her phone and dialed Lisa's number, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Lisa, can you come over? I really need to talk. Of course. I'll be there in 10. Lisa's voice was warm and reassuring, a lifeline in Sarah's turbulent sea of emotions. When Lisa arrived, she found Sarah curled up on the couch, her eyes red from crying. Without hesitation, Lisa wrapped her arms around her friend, offering comfort. What's going on? You look like you've been through a storm. It's about Tom, Sarah stammered, pulling away just enough to meet Lisa's concerned gaze. I found out he's been cheating on me. Lisa's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. Oh, Sarah. I'm so sorry. I can't believe he would do that to you. You deserve so much better. I don't even know what to feel right now, Sarah confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought we were happy, and now, I just don't know. Have you talked to him? Lisa asked gently, trying to guide Sarah through the chaos in her mind. I confronted him, but all he did was beg for forgiveness, Sarah replied, bitterness creeping into her tone. He says it was a mistake, but how can I trust him again? And to make matters worse, I'm pregnant. Lisa's eyes widened. You're pregnant? Sarah, that changes everything. Have you thought about what you want to do? I don't know, Sarah admitted, tears spilling down her cheeks. Part of me thinks terminating the pregnancy would be a way to escape this pain. But what if I regret it? What if this baby is a chance for a new beginning? Have you considered talking to someone about it? Maybe a counselor or someone who's been through a similar situation. Lisa suggested, her voice steady and calm. I went to a clinic today, Sarah said, her heart racing at the memory. But I couldn't go through with it. I felt so lost. And then I met this woman in the waiting room. She shared her story with me, and it made me rethink everything. What did she say? Lisa asked, genuinely intrigued. She talked about resilience and how she found strength in her struggles, Sarah explained, her voice gaining a hint of hope. She said that sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. That's powerful. Maybe this baby could be a blessing in disguise. But it's your choice, and you should never rush into anything. Yet here I am, still unsure, Sarah said, her heart heavy. Tom wants to meet. He insists we need to talk. I don't even know if I want to see him. Sarah, you need to do what feels right for you. If meeting him helps you find clarity, then go. But if it feels like a mistake, don't force yourself, Lisa advised, her gaze steady and supportive. I just wish things were different, Sarah murmured, staring out the window as raindrops began to fall softly against the glass. I want to feel whole again, but I'm so torn between love and betrayal. Whatever happens, you're not alone in this, Lisa assured her. You have me, and you always will. Just take your time and listen to your heart. With a renewed sense of determination, Sarah wiped her tears and took a deep breath. You're right. I need to face this, even if it's scary. I'll meet Tom and see what he has to say. Good. Just remember to stay true to yourself, no matter what, Lisa encouraged, squeezing Sarah's hand gently. As Sarah prepared for the meeting, she felt a mix of dread and anticipation. The weight of her choices loomed large, but with Lisa by her side, she felt a flicker of hope igniting within her, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The cafe's atmosphere buzzed with the clinking of cups and the soft chatter of patrons. Yet Sarah Mitchell felt cocooned in her own world of turmoil as she sat across from Tom. He had chosen a corner table, away from the bustling crowd, but the noise felt as loud as the pounding in her chest. Tom, with his earnest eyes and slightly disheveled hair, looked like a man who had just returned from a battle, one he never truly prepared for. I'm sorry, Sarah, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it carried the weight of his remorse. I know I messed up, and I can't ask you to forgive me, but I want to change. For you, for us. He leaned forward, desperation etched across his features. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a father. Sarah's heart twisted painfully in her chest. She wanted to believe him. She desperately wanted to see the man she had loved and built a life with, not the stranger who had betrayed her trust. Tom, she began, her voice trembling, it's not that simple. You broke something between us that I don't know if it can be fixed. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture she had seen countless times in moments of frustration. Please, Just give me a chance to prove that I can be better. I can't change the past, but I can work towards a future that we both want." His eyes bore into hers, searching for a flicker of hope. For a moment, Sarah felt a spark of something. Perhaps hope, or maybe just the remnants of love, but it was quickly overshadowed by the reality of their situation. "I don't even know what I want right now," she admitted, her voice a mere whisper. "You think I can just overlook what happened? I saw you, Tom. I witnessed your betrayal." "I know," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "And I'm so sorry. I've been a fool. I was reckless and thoughtless, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But we're having a baby, Sarah. That changes everything." At the mention of the baby, an ache settled in her chest. The news was still fresh, and she had yet to fully process it. "I'm not sure I can go through with this pregnancy," she confessed, her voice cracking slightly. "I've thought about terminating it, to escape the pain, to escape you." Tom's expression shifted from desperation to sheer shock. "You can't be serious," he said, a tremor in his voice. "Please, reconsider. This child could be our chance to start anew. I want to be there for you, for both of you. I want to try." Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words settle heavily on her shoulders. "You think a baby can fix things? That it can erase what you've done?" She shook her head, frustration bubbling to the surface. "I need time, Tom. I need to figure out what's best for me and this child. Then let me help you," he pleaded, his hands reaching across the table, desperate for connection. "Let me be there for you, no matter what you decide. I'll support you, whatever that looks like." She pulled her hands away, feeling both the warmth of his touch and the chill of betrayal. "You don't get to dictate how I feel or what I should do. This is my choice, and I need to make it for myself." Silence enveloped them like a heavy blanket, the noise of the cafe fading into the background. Tom's expression shifted, and for the first time, Sarah saw the vulnerability in his eyes. "I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for a chance. Not just for the baby, but for us. I love you, Sarah." His declaration hung in the air, a bittersweet melody that tugged at her heartstrings. Yet, in that moment, as she looked at the man who had caused her so much anguish, she felt a swell of determination. "I need to go," she said finally, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I need to think." Standing up, Sarah felt the weight of her decision pressing down on her. She turned away, leaving Tom behind, the conversation lingering in her mind like a haunting refrain. Outside, the cool air hit her face, and she took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of fear and resolve. She was at a crossroads, and this was just the beginning of her journey to reclaim herself, no matter where it would lead her. The small room was filled with women, each sharing their stories, fears, and hopes. Sarah sat in the circle, her heart beating in sync with the rhythm of their shared experiences. She listened intently as a woman spoke about her struggle with the decision of whether to keep her baby, her voice trembling yet resolute. "It was the hardest choice I've ever made, but I found strength I didn't know I had," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. As the session continued, Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest. These women, strangers mere hours ago, were now a source of inspiration. Each story resonated with her, echoing her own turmoil. One woman spoke of the joy she felt holding her baby for the first time, while another shared the heart-wrenching tale of loss and regret. Sarah leaned forward, entranced, as they discussed the support they had found not just in each other, but also in themselves. "Sarah, would you like to share?" the facilitator asked gently, her eyes kind and inviting. A lump formed in Sarah's throat. She hesitated, then took a deep breath. I'm pregnant, but I'm not sure if I want to keep the baby," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "My husband cheated on me, and I'm just so lost." The room fell silent for a moment, and then a chorus of understanding murmurs enveloped her. "You're not alone," one woman said, reaching out to squeeze Sarah's hand. "We're here for you." As Sarah spoke, she felt the weight of her decision shift. She realized she was not just grappling with the concept of motherhood, but with what it meant to reclaim her identity. "I thought terminating the pregnancy would free me from the pain," she continued, "but hearing your stories makes me question if it's really what I want." Maybe I can find strength in this situation. The meeting ended, but the echoes of their conversations lingered in Sarah's mind. She walked to her car with a newfound sense of clarity. Perhaps this baby was an opportunity for growth, a chance to redefine her life on her own terms. Meanwhile, Tom sat in a sterile office, fidgeting in his chair. The counselor's voice was calm and steady as she guided him through his thoughts. Understanding why you acted the way you did is crucial, Tom. It's not just about saying sorry. It's about understanding the patterns in your behavior. Tom nodded, feeling a mix of shame and determination. I never thought I could hurt her like that. I just got so caught up in my own insecurities that I lost sight of what mattered. He swallowed hard, the weight of his actions settling heavily on his shoulders. Have you talked to Sarah since the incident? The counselor asked, her gaze piercing through his defenses. No, he confessed. I don't know if she'll even want to see me. I ruined everything. His voice cracked, revealing the vulnerability beneath his facade. It's never too late to make amends, Tom. You need to show her that you're committed to change, she encouraged. Actions speak louder than words. What steps are you willing to take to prove your commitment? Tom left the session feeling lighter, as if a small part of the burden had been lifted. He had a long way to go, but he was ready to confront his demons. He knew he needed to reach out to Sarah, to show her that he was serious about rebuilding their life together. Days later, Tom found himself standing outside Sarah's workplace, his heart pounding in his chest. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but now that he was here, uncertainty washed over him. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. As he approached her desk, Sarah looked up, surprise flickering across her face. Tom, she said, her voice laced with hesitation. What are you doing here? I came to talk, he started, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I know I messed up, but I've been working on myself. I want to be a better husband, a better father. Tom, it's not that simple, she replied, her eyes narrowing. You hurt me. I don't know if I can trust you again. I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I need you to know that I'm committed to changing, he implored, his sincerity evident. Sarah's heart raced as she listened to him. She was torn, caught between the pain of betrayal and the flicker of hope he ignited within her. I need time, Tom. I'm still trying to figure things out. Take all the time you need, he said softly, backing away slightly. I just wanted you to know I'm here, and I want to support you, no matter what you decide. As he walked away, Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions. Could she really consider rebuilding what had been shattered? The possibility lingered in her mind, but for now, she needed to focus on herself and the choices ahead. As Sarah and Tom sat across from each other in the dimly lit cafe, the air between them pulsed with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. The clinking of coffee cups and the soft murmur of conversations around them faded into a backdrop as Tom leaned forward, his expression earnest. I've been working on myself, Sarah, he began, his voice steady but tinged with vulnerability. I know I hurt you deeply, and I can't change the past, but I want to support you, no matter what you decide about the baby. Sarah's heart raced, caught off guard by the sincerity in his tone. The warmth of the cafe contrasted sharply with the chill that had settled in her heart since the betrayal. She looked down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring, a symbol of a love that felt both distant and close at the same time. You're saying that now, but what if I decide to keep the baby? What if that means we have to face this together? Tom's eyes softened, and he reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. I want that, Sarah. I want to be there for you and our child. I'm ready to face the consequences of my actions. I've realized how much I took for granted. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. The memories of their life together, the laughter, the late-night talks, all intertwined with the painful betrayal. But how can I trust you again, she whispered, her voice barely audible above the cafe noise. I know it's going to take time, he replied, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. I'm not asking for your trust right away. I just want you to know that I'm committed to being a better man. For you and for our child. A flicker of something, hope perhaps, ignited within her. It was terrifying to think about opening that door again. What if I'm not ready to forgive? What if I choose to end this pregnancy? Then I'll support you, he said, his voice firm yet gentle. I just want you to make the decision that's right for you. I'll be here no matter what. Sarah nodded, grappling with the weight of his words. She needed time to process everything, but the warmth of his hand on hers sent ripples of conflicting emotions through her. Just as she was beginning to form a response, the cafe door swung open, and in walked Claire. The sight of the woman who had shattered her trust sent a jolt through Sarah's system. Claire's eyes widened in recognition, and she hesitated before approaching their table. Sarah, she said, her voice shaky. I didn't expect to see you both here. Claire, Tom replied, his tone flat, his hand retracting from Sarah's. The tension in the air thickened, and Sarah felt her heart race with anger and confusion. I wanted to apologize, Claire stammered, glancing between them. I never meant for things to go this far. It was complicated. Complicated. Sarah echoed, her voice rising. You think that makes it okay? You had a choice. I know, Claire admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But I was coerced into it. There were things going on in my life that I didn't know how to handle. I thought it was just a fling, but it spiraled out of control. Tom's expression shifted, surprise flickering across his features. What do you mean? Coerced by whom? By my own insecurities, by the need for validation, Claire explained, her voice cracking. I was looking for something I thought I was missing. I never meant to hurt either of you. Sarah's anger wavered, replaced by a swirl of confusion and sympathy. Seeing Claire so vulnerable made her question the nature of betrayal. Was it solely Tom's fault, or was there a deeper complexity at play? Why should I believe you? Sarah asked, her voice tight. Because I regret it every single day, Claire replied, her sincerity palpable. I see the pain I caused, and I wish I could take it back. You deserve better, both of you. As Claire walked away, Sarah felt her heart heavy with uncertainty. The revelation altered her perspective, blending her anger with a sense of empathy. She turned back to Tom, who looked equally shaken. Are we really going to do this? She asked, her voice trembling. Tom met her gaze, searching for understanding. I don't know, Sarah, but I want to try. I'm ready to work for it. Sarah took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling into her bones. She needed time to think, to unravel her feelings and make sense of everything that had just happened. I can't rush this, she finally said. I need to take a step back and figure out what I truly want. Tom nodded, his expression a mix of hope and resignation. I'll be here when you're ready. As they left the cafe, Sarah felt a storm of emotions brewing inside her. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. She needed to embrace the uncertainty before making a choice that could change everything. Sarah stood in the courtroom, her heart pounding as she clutched the cool metal of the bench beside her. The air felt heavy, suffocating, filled with the murmurs of those around her, all waiting for decisions to be made. She stared ahead, her mind racing with conflicting thoughts. This was it, the moment she had been dreading and anticipating all at once. The weight of her choices pressed down on her, suffusing her with a sense of urgency. She could feel the eyes of the world upon her, questioning, judging, waiting for her to decide the fate of her unborn child. Her thoughts spiraled back to the countless nights she had spent crying into her pillow, the heartbreaking confrontation with Tom, and the flicker of hope that had ignited during their recent conversations. But now, as she sat there in the starkness of the courtroom, those feelings felt distant and blurry. She took a deep breath, trying to quell the anxiety that clawed at her insides. Just as she was about to rise and speak, her voice trembling with the weight of her decision, the door swung open with a creak, drawing everyone's attention. Tom burst into the room, breathless and wild-eyed, as if he had sprinted from the ends of the earth to reach her. "Sarah!" he exclaimed, his voice echoing against the polished wood of the courtroom. "I'm so sorry I'm late. I couldn't let you do this without me." The room fell silent, the atmosphere charged with tension as all eyes shifted to the couple. Sarah's heart raced, a mix of surprise and apprehension flooding her senses. Tom stepped forward, his face earnest, his chest heaving from exertion. "Please," he continued, his voice cracking. "I love you. I love our baby. I want to be a family, No matter what you decide today, I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Sarah felt a rush of emotions clash within her. The old wounds of betrayal, the flicker of love still alive beneath the surface, the hope for a future that felt uncertain. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words eluded her. "Tom, she began, but he interrupted her, stepping closer, his desperation palpable. "I know I messed up. I hurt you, and I can't change that. But I promise you, I'm working on myself. I'm in counseling. I want to be the husband and father you deserve. Please, give me a chance to prove it to you." His plea struck her like a bolt of lightning. As she looked into his eyes, she saw the sincerity there, the determination. It was a reflection of the man she had fallen in love with, the man who had been lost but was now desperately trying to find his way back to her. The weight of her decision suddenly felt lighter, as if Tom's words were lifting a burden she had carried for so long. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning a future where they could rebuild together, where love could flourish again amidst the ruins of their past. "I want to keep the baby, Tom," she finally spoke, her voice steadier now. "I want to try again, for us, for our family." Tom's expression shifted from anxiety to sheer relief. He stepped forward, wrapping his arms around her, and she melted into him, the warmth of his embrace washing over her like a soothing balm. "Thank you, Sarah. Thank you," he murmured into her hair, his voice thick with emotion. As they stood there, enveloped in each other's arms, the courtroom faded away, the murmurs of the onlookers becoming a distant hum. This was a new beginning, a chance to forge a path together despite the challenges that lay ahead. Hand in hand, they stepped out of the courtroom, ready to face the world together, filled with hope for the future that awaited them. The sun shone brightly outside, a symbol of the optimism that blossomed in their hearts, illuminating the way forward.